to competition and bettering the community. And he utilizes his commitment to being the best version of himself to raise funds for charities that mean something to him. And I think he did that over the weekend. I'm excited to spotlight that on the Monday edition of Real Talk with Keith Smith. Judah Wickower's in the house. Judah, J-Dubs, JW, Judah B. Wickower. Have I ever seen that sweater in button-down combination? I don't think I have, the white on blue.
No.
The shirt we've seen.
First time I've ever seen you do it, right?
The shirt we've seen before.
And the sweater.
But not in the combo, though.
That's why I asked about the combination. So we'll talk about a lot real estate related on Monday. Mondays are great, man, and I see the crowd watching. Hit the like button, share the show. Keith Smith works hard for you. Only thing we ask in return is a like and share. J-Dubs, we're in your hands.
Maybe I should say I didn't do any preparing for this show.
Shouldn't say that.
I shouldn't say that.
Shouldn't say that.
Okay. Actually, I did.
Quiet on the set.
It's the Monday edition of Real Talk with Keith Smith. Thank you kindly for joining us. My name is Jerry Miller. A pleasure to connect with you guys through the I Love Seville Network on a show today presented by Yes Realty Partners. Find them online, yesrealtypartners.com. Keith and Jonas Smith, their namesake, a business that's helping folks attain homes that are making dreams come true.
That's right.
That's what you guys do. He helps folks buy and sell houses.
I do. Mrs. Smith may think otherwise.
And
sometimes.
he rides bicycles.
And I ride bikes for good causes. Did a 66 mile. It's 104 kilometer. I think 105 kilometer.
That's legit.
Race yesterday. Hold on a second. I didn't shut off my hearing aids. Forgot to do that. I just did it.
66 miles on a bicycle.
Yep.
And how long is that?
66 miles.
Well, I know.
I mean, time-wise.
Time-wise.
So I PR'd it. So I did my personal record of. So in bike riding, it's a little bit different than running. In bike riding, you kind of shoot for miles per hour. Mm-hmm. When you run, it's like minutes per mile.
Okay.
It's a little bit of a different goal. I did 14.6 miles per hour.
That's legit.
I was shooting for 15. The last 100 I did in November was 13, so I picked up a mile and a half per hour, which is pretty good gain. I'm very excited about it.
Like a fine wine, the man is improving.
I'm improving.
With age.
I'm getting better. Believe it or not.
Evidently, after you do a 66-mile bike ride, you have the confidence in your attire to go a little Miami Vice, if you may. He goes with the sports blazer and just the tight muscle shirt underneath.
It's not a muscle.
Is this Don Johnson over here?
No. So
are you driving a white Lamborghini?
No,
Is that Albert Clifford, AC Slater?
No. So
Zach Morris, is that you?
I raised.
Jason Priestley?
I raised a
Dylan McKay. Steve Sanders. I'm giving you props.
Thank you.
I'm comparing you to Hollywood heartthrobs.
I'm literally still sweating from yesterday.
I don't think I've ever seen you wear a muscle shirt under a blazer before.
Well, it's because I raised $1,000 and they give you this T-shirt that says a champion, and you get a little medal when you raise $1,000.
Is that the participation trophy? Or is that
No, everybody who crosses the line, but you've got to ride 6.
Okay, you're saying that's the participation trophy.
You've got to cross up. This isn't though. This is if you raise $1,000, you get a T-shirt.
The participation trophy at a race is very different than the participation trophy at a Little League baseball type of situation. If you're doing a race, you cross the finish line, you should get something. You overcame a goal. You did something that was physically difficult, and the battle is with yourself personally.
That's
the participation trophies for Little League baseball teams that come in last place.
I
despise that. Neil Williamson's going to jump in on this.
I don't even know what those words mean.
What, participation trophies?
I don't even understand it. No.
Last does not get trophies.
So this is, I do this, look at this. I'm perspiring just thinking about the race from yesterday. I do this. I call it Zen. I do it for me. Keep my head.
Oh, no doubt.
My head straight.
Same.
And
If I don't exercise every day, I lose my. I'm not as likable to be around.
that was the end of it.
I need
The
exercise
question
every
is,
day.
that question is, does your wife say, Jerry, go out and do something
Oh,
and then come back?
she openly encourages me to exercise every day. She's seen it.
Yeah. If you don't
Yeah.
get it in, you're cranky.
Yeah, doesn't want to.
It could be an endorphin junkie kind of
For sure.
thing.
I think that's totally what it is.
It was good, you know. It's fun to be around a group of people that you don't know, and have a conversation. And the bike riding is very different than running. At least I found it to be. So you kind of match up with a couple of people, and you've got to learn there's hand signals and there's communication, and it's a very different thing. When you've got 6 or 7 people running 25, 30 miles an hour downhill from, right on each other's tail, you got to be able to communicate with one another, because if somebody hits their brakes too hard, there goes 6 people in the ditch.
That's not good.
At that speed, yeah. So it's a lot of fun. I connected up with a couple of guys, actually did a little real estate while I was on the bike.
Good.
Figure.
Yeah.
People were asking me, because you start saying, hey, so you got to talk to one another, particularly when you're going uphill. And you know why you do that, right?
Why is that?
Because of the breathing, right? So if you are breathing too hard and you can't speak, they need to back it down a little bit.
Okay.
So it's the breathing dictates the conversation helps dictates the breathing. So you start doing this. Hey, what do you do? What do you do? What do you do? What do you do? And I love what I do, but
Yeah,
I was
you love
there.
to talk about it.
I was there for a race, and then about the first 15 miles, everybody starts kind of packing into these little packs. And then for about 50 miles after that, it was nonstop questions about real estate, literally for 50 miles over,
Yeah.
which is cool.
Yeah.
Nobody.
That right there is a microcosm of the difference of real estate and the tangible and palpable impact
It's a real
we know
thing.
real estate has on the economy locally.
It's
Look,
a real
he has
thing.
a conversation about real estate during a bike race. And compare it and contrast it versus the defense sector, which we've been talking about for a couple weeks.
Well, generally, in fairness,
Defense sector, $1.2 billion
Yeah,
economic impact, but no one effing knows about it, because you can't talk about it.
that's exactly right.
The
That's
dudes
a
on the bikes
whole-
couldn't talk about it.
They're gonna talk-
Where
Yeah.
Keith can be an evangelist for the industry,
But there
talk
were,
about it.
But there was people in the tech industry that there was all different. There was a doctor. There was, by the way, I was the old
What's
dude.
up, Stephanie?
I was the old dude. I was the 60-year-old dude, and everybody else was 40 years old. Well, between upper 30s and lower 40s, and I was the 60-year-old dude. My joke was, since my hearing aid microphone's face to the rear, because this is all in traffic, you do this. So I will stay in the back and hear the cars come back. What I was really doing was drafting off of these, and it's a thing.
Smart man.
For these guys.
Work smart, not hard.
But it's interesting, it was constant conversation about market. What's going on? What's going on? Da 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 da. Nobody was asking the dude that's in the data business about data. Everybody was talking about the real estate. So there you go.
Stephanie Wells Rhodes watching the program, the family
ISC.
behind Interstate Service Company, ISC, a home's best friend, proud partner of the show, and a very impactful company behind the scenes with this community.
Sure, absolutely.
Stephanie, and her fantastic husband, Larry, coaches Little League,
Yep.
and she agrees. She says that's what's wrong with the younger generations. Suck it up, Buttercup. Not everyone gets a trophy. I literally used the phrase suck it up, Buttercup, to a Gen Zer like 2 weeks ago, who was getting emotional about not being treated the right way at work. And I'm like, dude.
Are you sure that's a Gen
This
Z
is
or a
work.
millennial thing? Because Gen Zs, I was reading some very interesting articles wrapped around real estate about Gen Zs. They are actually becoming a little bit more impactful than the millennials. The article was about the conflict between the Gen Zs and the millennials.
This is more of the mindset that started becoming a reality when I think I was in middle school. Maybe like you started seeing this in the 80s, where if you participated in a youth sports league, regardless of coming in first or last place, you were getting a trophy. And that really irritates the hell out of me. And a lot of people have said this has fostered a generation of folks that have been pampered, that have been told that you're gonna get a trophy just by showing up, and that's not how life works. That's my problem with participation trophies. Is let's utilize sports to figure out aspects of real life or to learn life. That's what I'm going to do with my son.
So
Our sons, both our sons.
So has life changed that much?
Did you get a trophy for coming in last place?
No.
I didn't get a trophy for coming in last place.
No. I got an ice cream. Which was kind of like, I'll take the ice cream over trophy.
I didn't get a trophy for coming in last place.
We got to go to Carvel, so anybody from New York knows what Carvel is. That was like the thing. You know, that's like a Coors Brothers kind of thing.
Kerry Rock giving you some props.
Hey,
right
Kerry,
now.
how you doing
We
there?
love you, Kerry Rock.
Kerry Rock, and it's since he's a fellow serviceman, I will leave names out, but I was posting before the ride that I raised $1,000 for research to help find a cure for Alzheimer's. My nana, which is my father's mother, passed away from that, and we lived that quite personally. It's a
brutal.
horrible disease on it. And one of my fellow jarheads, and Kerry will appreciate this, goes, "Way to go, Smith. I love a guy who plans for his future." So I was like, really? That's tell the guy that just before he goes. And it's a typical service, guys. You know, everybody's a little bit on the dark humor. But it was a lot of fun. Had a great time. And, you know, I'm doing 100 miles in 2 weeks from now, raise a little bit more money. That's a little bit different. I get to choose the place that I want to put my donation to on my behalf. So obviously it's going to be to the Land Trust. It's a little bit different kind of a setup on it. You go. You get to pick, you get to raise money and give it to who you want.
Comments coming in on Spotify, comments coming in on iTunes. I'll get to them in moments. Stephanie, I 100% agree. She says losing is a part of life. 100%.
Well, I mean, how do you,
100%.
you know,
How else do you
it's
teach it?
interesting to wrap it into real estate, right?
There it is. There it is.
How do you wrap it into real estate now? My daughter and son-in-law
There it is.
are millennials. I think they are.
Your daughter and son-in-law
Are
young millennials.
Young
when was
millennials.
When was your daughter born?
Yeah.
When?
Yeah.
What year? Huh?
That's 100%
Okay.
right.
Yeah?
You're 100%
Okay,
right.
okay. So they're young millennials. Okay.
I think she's 29.
Okay. Yeah, I'd say
94.
You got the
Yeah, you should bring the chart
generational
up.
chart you can put up?
Yeah.
Judah's going to put the generational chart based on labels on. Oh, Judah. Golly darn. You're so good,
And
Judah.
take a look what he's got in front of him.
Okay, so hold on. Millennials 81 to 96. When was
Okay.
your daughter born?
94, so it'd be the
She's a very young millennial.
young millennial.
So she's virtually a Gen Z.
much like I'm a young boomer.
The folks in that range, they have a new label for them. They're called Zillennials. So she's technically a Zillennial.
So everybody gets a participation trophy and everybody gets a label.
Everyone gets a label. The label I have no problem with. It's the generation you're tied to.
Yeah, but they're adding more, right? They taking something and dividing it into more.
I
into
think it's
more,
just
into
that
more.
little period. Because you would have to admit, if you could put the generational chart
Well,
back
it
on,
would be for me. I'm really at the tail end.
that's my point there.
I'm on the tail end of, so my
I'm an old millennial. And someone who's an old millennial versus a young millennial like your daughter, that's
Jerry,
in
you're
a
not
15,
old. You're very young at heart.
I'm just talking about technically.
Got it.
That 15 years
But to
is a massive delta.
But to put it into real
For
estate,
being raised.
and if there's some real estate agents that are watching or listening
They are.
this morning, right? When you're helping a millennial or a Gen Z do it, because Gen Zs are coming into the market pretty strong.
Yeah.
When you lose 13 offers or 12 offers or 2 offers or 3 offers, how are they accepting it? I will tell you, the millennials that I work with that we lose deals, they're not like crying in the corner. They're a little bit upset, of course, but they stay in the game, at least the ones we're working with. A lot of it has to do, I think, with coaching and mentoring and so forth and so on. But they're not like, pouting and taking their toys and go home, right? So they're still in it. So I'm really curious, because, how
Your
this...
daughter, the micro...
No, but
the example you utilized was a Division I swimmer. Arguably one of the
Yeah, but
most competitive Smiths in the family. Is she the most competitive Smith?
Of course not.
Okay. That's why I said arguably.
What the hell's wrong with
There's 4 of them. All right. You're
you? No, there's more than that.
Yeah. Well, I meant the immediate family.
Oh, yeah, there's 4 of us, yeah. Mrs. Smith would say she's the least.
She's the least competitive. Huh. No. You would not buy that.
Would not buy that at all.
I mean, she was a Division I swimmer. Dylan's Rule watching the program on Twitter here. Welcome to the show.
Hey, I do want to shout out a real estate number.
Go.
You know, we're supposed to talk about the market a little bit here.
Yeah,
Maybe.
I like it.
At some point.
I love real estate.
What the hell? Real estate? Remember when it was, I think we did the first week of April. We were talking about, I think it was around the 7th, we were talking about the market, the first quarter, and how remember how Charlottesville numbers were down?
Yeah.
I have to pull up the chart. Just since the sales, the total sales price, in the city of Charlottesville, just since the end of the first quarter and the end of April, looking at April on itself. And
okay, hold on.
Let me try this again.
The first quarter and the end of April. So we're talking the end of first quarter and the end of April. Isn't that the month of April?
January, February, March.
The end of first quarter to April is what you said, right?
Yeah. So it's
we're
the month of
talking
April.
The month of April.
So hey, Jerry, how you doing this morning?
Or do we want the first 4 months?
Hey, man, I am still.
Or just April?
I'm recovering from
I'm
yesterday.
sorry, you're sweating.
I am sweating.
I see
I
you
am
sweating,
sweating. Yeah, I burnt 2,500 calories that day. I'm
Dang.
trying to.
That's impressive.
Well, you actually burn more calories on biking than you do running.
Okay.
It's the reason why you got to fuel up all the time. But yeah, it was 2,500 calories. I will tell you, the ride home sucked from DC.
Were you by yourself?
Yeah. Well, yeah, actually, I was by myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was listening to Real Talk, so I had you with me on.
Oh,
on the way
okay.
down.
There we go.
So let's try this again.
Okay.
The total sales number for the end of the first quarter, let's just do that number first, was $433,000. So the median sales price at the end of the first quarter in the city of Charlottesville, that's everything, single family, detached, attached, and condo, was $433,000. The month of April alone, just that month, it was $526,000. That's $93,000.
Did you hear that? Say it again.
So see if I can not screw this up.
This is crazy stat here.
Well, the reason I'm bringing it up is remember in the beginning of the first week of April, because the number quarter over quarter was down.
Oh, I remember.
Right?
I remember.
It was down.
And you said not to panic.
And everybody was panicking, and I said, look, this is just...
So the median in the city of Charlottesville for Q1 2023 was what? What number?
433.
433,000. City of Charlottesville Q1 this year. What was it for April?
Just the month of April was 526. That's $93,000 more, a 21% jump. By the way,
Ladies and gentlemen.
in Albemarle County, not quite the same, but close. End of Q1 was 472. End of April was 491. Now this is everything. I'm including attached and condos and all that stuff. That's a 4% increase on it. Lake Monticello was modest, was only about a 1% jump. But 21%. And remember, we were talking about this because there was this whole hangover, I think, particularly in the city, from that. And I think a lot of what's going on, and I'm going to get myself into trouble here, to Neil Williamson will probably chime in.
He's watching.
I think what's happening is I think this whole mustache bet and zoning rewrite, I think the market is kind of like the Fed and the 30%. I think it's baked in already. I think people are already baked in that is not going to have a huge negative impact on the market and people out there buying. That's the only reason I can understand why there was a 21% jump in 1 month. That's just 1 month.
Neil, why do you think there was a 21% jump in 1 month?
I think I did it quickly this morning as I was recovering from swing.
Can those numbers be skewed because of such little deals done and the deals?
Oh, the volume is
the deals that were done at a price that skew that number.
This is just total dollar and percentage. The volume of sales were substantially down compared to the same quarter, same month last year. I didn't bring those numbers with me. But my point is that everybody was panicking. I was getting phone calls after that show, like, "Oh my God, is the sky falling in Charlottesville?" And it's clearly not.
Jason Howard, welcome to the program. Keith,
From a sales point. Now, if you want to buy,
you could be screwed here. Judah Wickhauer, there's sizzle reel content somewhere here.
Oh God.
Is this, and the one may be behind us already to find, is this sustainable? You just told us was it a 21% jump in value in April?
Yeah.
The first
I
quarter
think
of this year?
I think that's a huge jump. I think you'll find next month it'll slow down a little bit in volume.
But these are comps. So what happened in April are comps that will be utilized to set the market moving forward. The month of April, values in the city of Charlottesville jumped 21%.
And that's why on contracts we've got going on right now, we're purposely communicating. Scott Morris is doing most of them for us. When we're helping buyers, we're timing out, and we're not necessarily timing out. What we're doing is we're strategically requesting appraisals.
Can I put this in layman's terms to see if I can figure this out?
I'll just drink my coffee and keep on sweating over here.
This is what
2,500 calories.
you're the expert. You're the genius.
And I gained weight. Go figure that one out.
How long have we been doing this?
451, I think is
451 shows.
I think 451.
451. Each show, say 90 minutes. So let's call it 451 shows.
I did take some vacations in the middle of that, so
We just should use 451 because you had people fill in for you that were experts.
yeah.
I'd say that's fair.
Yeah, I know where you're going.
When
You're
you
going, how much-
when you take vacation, you get experts to fill in for you.
Yep.
Isn't that fair?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
But I know what you're doing, though.
So I know. I'm just curious of what
How much time we spend together.
451 times 90 minutes. That's 40,590 minutes. 40,590 minutes divided by 60 minutes is 676 hours. 676 hours divided by 40 hours a week is basically 17 weeks. I mean, basically,
Yeah, you would have to do it by the hours. The
I'm
weeks.
basically getting a elevated degree. I'll go ahead and say it's an MBA in real estate here from Keith and his colleagues. He called it a strategic appraisal. In my eyes, this is what a strategic appraisal is in a real estate market that is an incredibly volatile market, especially a volatility northern in price, where valuations are going upward quickly. Yeah, upward quickly. So a strategic appraisal is delaying an appraisal to allow other homes to close.
That's exactly right.
Because if you can delay the appraisal to allow other homes to close, the homes that are the most recent closings are the ones that have the highest dollar value. And you need the appraiser to see those homes to close, to utilize that data to get the highest dollar value for the house that you're trying to buy, because you need the house to appraise. And why you need the house to appraise in the Richmond market is because you want the money, any market, because you want the money from the bank, because you don't want appraisal gap coverage, because that money might not be in the account. And if the money is in the account, you're going to have to find that money somewhere. And from a loan officer standpoint, that money better be seasoned, because that money, if it's coming from the parents to the home buyer's account, has to be in the account for an extended period of time for that money to count in the loan officer's eyes. That's the value of the strategic appraisal. And that, ladies and gentlemen,
I've taught
is
you all
an
my
A+++ for Jerry Miller.
I taught you all my tricks. Look, yes, but this is not exclusive to Richmond, right? We're doing the same thing here, right? Yeah. So the market, I mean, it's a prime example. The market is moving so fast. I have to tell you, Fulvana County actually went backwards. The county itself, Lake Monticello went up, county went backwards. I didn't do the percentage and the math on it. I've been working this morning, for Wednesdays and Fridays show on it. But what we just talked about, people always want to know hacks, right? Or little tricks of the trade, or what a trusted advisor does. I'll leave names out of it. There was a client of mine that didn't use Scott, frankly, was my suggestion. They decided to use somebody else, which is fine. Turned out to be an actual bank, not a thing. And we had the same way. I was communicating with the loan officers, and I said, look, I know that there's properties around this that are closing because we had multiple offers. We were competing. We finally won. We won on it. I don't want you to pull the trigger to order it. Well, let me rephrase that. When's the latest date in order to meet closing do we have to pull the trigger to order an appraisal? And that person gave it to me. It was 2 weeks it was 2 weeks away. I said, great, let's not pull that trigger. She pulled the trigger. Appraisal was done in 3 days, which is insane.
Yeah.
I don't know how you do an appraisal that quickly in today's...
Sounds like a desktop appraisal to me.
Well, I don't know about that. And it came in horribly.
Wow, sounds like a desktop appraisal to me.
And so the client finally listened to me or took my suggestion and went out with Scott, and now we're strategically timing when we want to do the appraisal.
It's brilliant.
So we can go ahead, and you're 100% right, so they don't have to bring any gap cash to the table and so forth and
Because
so on.
that gap cash has got to be seasoned.
Depends
If
on...
it's a gift from outside of the couple, outside of the buyers.
That's a general statement. It really does depend on the type of loan
Okay.
that it is. You know, if it's like a...
I'll say this, the gap cash, if the gap cash, and loan officers are watching this program, any LOs watching this program, if you want to chime in, please offer some
It
perspective.
depends on the loan.
The gap cash, I can say this with confidence. The gap cash, if it's a gift from parents, will be a conversation with the loan officer.
Sure.
That will be a conversation with the loan officer.
So-
That I can say with confidence.
Well, I'll add, I'll make it even simpler. I'll do it, Jerry. I'll make it even simpler.
Okay.
Any new cash that shows up,
That's what I'm saying.
you have to explain it.
Exactly.
You'll
So
have-
anyway, this is going to come up.
Yeah. Any new
And
cash.
normally you want that season for a little bit, so it's not a red flag. And
Yeah, but
season
then
means in the account for 60, 90,
But then-
120.
But then how do you know you need it? Right?
I mean, in this market, you probably have a pretty good idea when your budget is this, and and deal after deal after deal is not going one way.
It's a bit of a balance, right? You know, you're trying to negotiate and win the day on the price, and you're also trying to figure out where the market's going. I mean, I've reached out to Woody on Woody Fincham, one of our also awesome sponsors, right, to help us determine a little bit on where it's at. I will pick up the phone and call him and say, look, you know, this is what I'm seeing in my CMA and that. Woody, what do you think? And you know, Woody's a great guy and an awesome friend and an awesome partner here for the show. You know, he'll say, look, Smith, you're on track, or Smith, you're way off, and, you know, or something along those lines. But, you know, you can, you know, engage him formally to go ahead and help you do that, which is a great service that he does.
You're getting props right now from a handful of people. I'll acknowledge them. Jason Howard on Rio Road. We've
Thank
dubbed
you,
him
Jim.
the King of Rio, watching the program right now. Grayson's watching in North Downtown, as he does on Real Talk most mornings. Woody, I see you on a fine Monday morning. Good morning. Woody Fitcham. Carmen, good night, watching the program. Hello, Carmen. Thank you for watching. Keith, this question.
That's a cool name, man.
Yeah, Carmen Goodnight.
Yeah,
that is a
man.
good, cool name. Give us some background on that name, Carmen. That is
That
a
is
cool
actually
name.
a really cool name.
Peter Matthews, welcome to the broadcast. Viewers and listeners, if you want to offer perspective, put it in the feed. I will relay it live on air like I am doing right now.
So this-
Jerry, what is gap cash?
Got it. So thank you. This is what I was hoping we're going to do this. So this week is a Batman and Robin week. Scott on Wednesdays heading up to Michigan to
For work.
for Ross Mortgage. So I love these questions and I love these case studies. What gap coverage is?
Gap cash, yeah.
So it's a gap coverage. So what's happening here is it's the appraisal gap between what the contract price is and what the appraisal is. And sometimes if the appraisal is lower than the contract price, then the buyer has to have enough cash to make up that gap, right? It's the gap between the appraisal and the contract price. And generally, the way that works, so if I am the buyer's agent and Jerry is the listing agent, when I make my offer, I also have to include proof of funds that my buyer has this $50,000 or whatever the dollar amount is, between that. And it's the game that you're playing. I've got a couple of transactions we're working on right now that we're actually doing a strategic appraisal approach or timing approach on it so that these buyers get to keep as much of their cash as possible. Because now you have 3 cash pools that you've got to work from, right? Cash pool number 1 is your down payment. So if you're doing a 5% down, 3% down, 10% down, that's cash pool number 1. Cash pool number 2 is your closing costs, which is roughly, depending on the loan, 3 to 4%. We'll just call it 3% for the sake of this conversation. And then now gap conversation. So that cash starts growing real fast. And so we generally start having a conversation about, okay, Jerry, tell me, this is an uncomfortable conversation. Tell me how much cash you got. If you don't want me to tell me how much cash you got, I'm not much sure I can help you. I kind of need to know what we're working with so we can plan some sort of strategy to move forward.
To win the deal.
To win the deal.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
So that's
sizzle reel right there.
It's the cash between the loan amount and the appraisal amount, whatever that gap is. You have to provide it in cash.
There's the end of your sizzle reel right there. That was succinctly done.
And thank you for not saying sizzle reel.
Look at the Miami Vice, the Dylan McKay over here. He's wearing a muscle shirt over a blazer.
Yeah, I should bring in pictures of me in the 80s.
Brandon Walsh. Stand up, Brandon Walsh.
It would be Don Johnson. No.
Come on, Steve Sanders.
If I do, then my belly will come over the top of my...
Steve Sanders, stand up. We'll go to the studio camera.
How do you...
I swear the studio camera takes 20 pounds off your body.
Lying, no.
That's why I'm looking down. Does the camera not take 20 pounds off if he stands up?
After 676 hours, you don't think I know when you're...
You look sharp, Smith. He's wearing his, for those that are wondering, he's wearing a muscle shirt.
I'm not a muscle shirt, it's a T-shirt.
It's actually a bike jersey. Isn't it a jersey?
No, this is the bike jersey over here.
Oh, that's the jersey. Okay. What's that right there?
That's the bike jersey.
Okay, gotcha. Is that what you wore yesterday?
No, I wore actually a jersey promoting Blue Wheel Cycling in Charlottesville, and I never wear the jersey on the day of the race. I don't know. It's kind of a...
It's like wearing the T-shirt of the band to the concert.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Now it's interesting. So the one that I'm
don't go to the Taylor Swift show with the Taylor Swift shirt on.
And who's
Wear
that?
the Taylor Swift shirt on the downtown mall.
Who's
but
that?
don't go to the Taylor Swift show with the Taylor Swift shirt
And
on.
who's that?
You know who Taylor Swift is.
Who's that?
Come on, you know who Taylor Swift is.
Yeah, so it's...
You know who Taylor Swift is, right?
I know. So this was that was the jersey. I was going to wear that instead of the muscle shirt, but I figured I wore the muscle shirt. But it says champion because I raised $1,000. Did you know I raised $1,000?
I did.
I raised
You said it.
I raised $1,000.
We're proud of you.
That's pretty cool.
You are.
I am planning for the future.
I am proud of you, my friend. I am
Yeah.
absolutely proud of you.
So what other questions we got?
Well, I want to give you an opportunity to speak about this. You printed this for us, and then I'll get to the comments that are coming in right now.
So Redfin.
Because if I don't ask you about this, we will forget about it.
We will forget about
Okay.
it. So you're actually counting that I actually read this. It's not just
Well, you printed it.
I read it. I read it. So the thing is Redfin News did a housing market update. Home sells quickly as a historic drop in listing fuels competition among buyers. We really only need to talk about the headline because the reason I printed it out here, even Redfin, which is a national organization, is talking about the same stuff we've been talking about for
Long time.
very long time on that end of it. Inventory is dropping, prices are going up. None of this is, I had a client. Let me see, what was it? I think I mentioned it on a previous show. I had a client that's moving from rental to purchase, and we're helping them move forward. And she just kept on repeating this. But the news said it was going to drop 20%. But the news said it was going to drop 20%. I said, I don't know what news you're listening to. Apparently, it's not real talk.
Yeah,
with
this
Keith
is a
Smith.
real talk. Good Lord. I know.
That is not going to drop. Certain areas might, right? But overall, nationwide.
You want to know something crazy? I was at a cocktail party over the weekend with some fairly heavy hitters. We're talking
Real estate.
heavy hitters, names you would know, okay?
Sure.
Business people, names you would know.
Sure.
Conversation came up. Name the city councilors. Name the board of supervisors. You know how many people at that party could name the city councilors and board of supervisors in totality?
Oh God.
Now, the sample size was like maybe 13 or 14 people.
Well,
you know how many people
In fairness,
that I was speaking with at the time? You know how many could name them all?
very few.
Me.
I would.
Me.
Yeah.
One.
You probably beat me on that.
You could name all the supervisors.
I might miss one or two.
Keith,
in
go.
there.
Do it. You can
No,
do it on the
no,
spot. You could do it on the spot right now. There's 6 of them.
Jerry.
I know you could do this.
Jerry. Both of my granddaughters, one name is Vienna, one is named Ravenna.
I get that.
And I kept on calling the one Ravenna Vienna and the one Vienna
That's
Ravenna.
different. That's different. I bet you could name the board of supervisors.
Which county?
Do you want to go city council first? Why don't you go city council first? That'll be no problem for you.
Payne, Snook. I don't remember the new one.
Leah Puryear.
There you
I'll
go.
give you a pass on that one. She was
Juan
appointed. Juan Diego Wade.
And Brian.
Brian Pinkston. Okay. Board of supervisors. You got this. Most of them are your friends.
Yeah. Ned,
Yep. Ned Galloway.
Diantha,
Yep. Diantha McKeel.
B,
B. Lepisto Kirtley Good.
Jim,
Jim Andrews. 4.
and Donna.
Donna. Missing one.
Oh, Ann.
Yeah. So you got it. I knew you could do it. You would have gotten it. You would have had no problem. Ann Malley. So you could do
Don't
it.
hex me about Greene County.
But I guess the point, this
I
is
know
my
a
point
couple
is,
of them.
you're talking about guys that are like top of their field, pioneers in some cases.
So why do you think that is? Green, it's
Is it apathy? Is it lack of interest? Is it apathy, lack of interest? Is it lack of coverage? Is it, it's got to be apathy or lack of interest, I would imagine.
or it's not.
Because the coverage is there,
Maybe
should they
and
want it.
maybe one of those big fancy words mean this. It doesn't impact their lives. They don't. If they're heavy hitters, that probably doesn't impact their lives, right? If real estate tax rate goes up, it's a little bit more money to them. To my mother and father, when their cash out of their pocket is up $400.
That's groceries for a month and a half
Somebody that is,
for your parents.
yeah. So I think it's either, and maybe this is the apathy part of it, they just don't care,
Yeah, maybe that's what it is.
right? Or it doesn't impact their lives, so they don't care.
I was disappointed.
Yeah.
I was visibly disappointed.
Yeah. And because you understand the importance of it, right?
Right. And I also care a lot about the community, as do you. And I understand that, like, if we're not going to move forward as a community for progress of positive change, if some of like our heaviest of hitters are not even interested.
So it was Dave Norris, I think, that said this, right?
Yeah.
They should care the local stuff. The local electeds, the local government is the most impactful. State and federal, directly upon people's lives, but maybe they just, it's all about, what's that fancy word?
Apathy?
Apathy.
How about Kevin Dean offering this question? Keith speaks to the $90,000+ increase in median average in the month of April. Can he attribute that value increase to upzoning locally?
That's a great
Meaning the
question.
potential that comes with the zoning.
That's a great question.
Because we're getting to the home stretch.
The answer is I don't know, right?
Okay.
And the answer is
Sean Tubbs, would you attribute it to that?
I've got to look into it.
I think Sean might.
I think it's the other way around. I think people are buying and moving into neighborhoods and just staying there, right? They're not intending to upzone it. They're not intending to do anything with their property other than that. But that's a substantial jump. I'd have to take a harder look into the numbers, and I've learned something after 676 shows. Don't go into great detail live looking at numbers on it, but yeah. So that's a great question.
What do you think, Sean Tubbs?
I
What do you
don't-
think, Neil Williamson?
I honestly believe, as much as I want to, and you know I'm a proponent of upzoning. I think this is a good thing. I think it's going to work well.
I don't know if I'm necessarily a proponent.
I am. I think we need. I think.
I don't think.
I just don't. I think how they're ultimately going to get it done is probably not going to move the needle that
This
much.
has been such a convoluted process.
It's
been
but Jerry,
convoluted.
this is a difficult.
I get it,
Topic.
but it's been
Very
convoluted
difficult.
and not managed properly. The communication has left a lot to be desired. We're well delayed, and that can be expected with
gotta
local
stop.
government.
I appreciate what you're saying, and for the sake of a talk show, I'm going to contradict with you.
You're going
a
to
little.
disagree with me.
I'm not necessarily disagree. I'm just going to come up from a different perspective. I've been through different zoning rewrites in different jurisdictions. I will tell you, for what it's worth, it's been pretty open. You can go and find the information and do it. It's just a super difficult thing. You're going to piss off half the people. You're going to make the other people happy. This is a very difficult political decision to make. It's a very difficult technical decision to make. It is a hard thing to do, and get through it and try to get it done. Do I think that they could be better at it? Absolutely.
I don't think the city truly understands the magnitude, influence, impact of what this is going to do to Charlottesville.
The region.
To the region, yeah.
To the region.
Okay.
No,
well said.
and I got to tell you.
To the region.
I got to tell you, I think that's becoming very evident now, because Michael Payne said this at a commission meeting the other day, which was actually put me back a little bit, because Albemarle County's working on this.
Michael Payne, city councilor. For
Thank
those
you.
that were at the cocktail party.
Send them cards. Oh, we'll make up baseball cards.
Literally, I'm talking to
We'll
people.
make up baseball cards. Let's
Yeah.
do that. We'll make up baseball cards. Pick one. I think that's a good idea. City councilor, pick one.
What did Payne say?
Look, I got Michael Payne.
I know. What did Payne say?
So we were talking about the Albemarle County doing its developer incentive, running it through the RHP and all this kind of great stuff, the Regional Housing Partnership through that. And Michael was all over. Said, "Look, I want to attend, even though it's Albemarle County." And he said something, and I'm paraphrasing it to a certain degree, because as what happens in the city of Charlottesville, Albemarle, we're all connected. And I've been saying this for a long time.
Yeah.
In the housing space, Fluvanna's connected to Charlottesville, Charlottesville connected to Green. We're all connected because the people that are trying to find this $250,000 home, this $350,000 home, are out in these surrounding counties and traveling in and out.
Carly Wagner watched the program. Carly, this is a good comment from you. Carly, your comments on the shows are welcomed. You're legit, Carly. I have no idea who you are outside of the interaction we do on these shows on social media, but I just want you to hear this from me, that I respect
I think
your
we've
comments.
asked this question. They're not related to the Fluvanna Wagners.
No, she's not related to the Fluvanna Wagners. I believe she's getting into real estate now.
Oh, cool.
She says increased density is better than sprawl. Don't you agree? And I think she's directing this to me because of my comments on the upzoning. She says, don't you agree? Growth is a necessary evil. Will growth be infill or sprawl? To avoid sprawl, you need upzoning.
So-
I get that on
so
paper.
on
paper, that makes 100% sense. I get
here's-
that on paper.
But here's the debate, and this is what brought up this conversation between Galloway and Payne at the commission. It's how much of it is going to be actually housing affordability.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, and
that's the point I'm making.
Yeah. And
What we're going to get is not going to be housing affordability. This is the point I've been making for years. That's the point. What we're going to get, because the land is becoming more expensive now, because the land has greater opportunities of what you can do with it. And because the land is more expensive now, it costs more. Because the land has more opportunities with it, it's more expensive. Because it's more expensive, you have to pay more upfront for it. Because you're paying more upfront for it, when you're buying this land, you're going to expect a greater return on investment because it costs more to buy. On top of that, the labor market sucks. Costs of goods are through the roof, and the interest rate environment to finance your project is expensive. These are all headwinds for affordability. Dirt, opportunistic, making it expensive. Dirt, very little of, making it expensive. Labor, not much of it, making it expensive. Cost of goods, expensive. Interest rates, expensive. If you buy this stuff, you want top dollar because you pay top dollar to bring it to market. You pay top dollar to bring it to market.
I just, we'll see it. And the dialogue, The dialogue was, and I think the dialogue and the light bulb went on in Michael Payne's mind anyway, from my perspective, because, my intent or the goal, frankly, is with this developer incentive wrapped around housing affordability for Albemarle County will be somewhat of a boilerplate scenario that other jurisdictions can use.
What, Fluvanna?
Well, more of Charlottesville is what the conversation was going back and forth on that end of it. But I'm just taking a look at April over April, 23 versus 22, and so back on this is single-family detached, because the reason I pulled that up was, the homes that are potentially going to go ahead and either be something done with upzoning. The bottom line is there was 30 homes sold
In city in April?
in April.
Okay, city of Charlottesville only.
This is single-family detached only
Okay.
because if it's already attached, more than likely something isn't going to be done with it, right?
Yeah.
Condos are already in some sort of multifamily scenario, so I just cherry-picked out that. So it was 30 units that sold at a 556 medium sales price. But I'm looking down here now. The cheapest was 260, then it jumps up to 310, and it goes real fast into 400 somewhere around sale number 10 goes into that. My point is, to your point, is I'm paying $415,000, $500,000 for something. It's going to take a lot of units to get that ROI to get that density to turn
On top of that,
so that's why I think people are buying to hold.
on top of that, this is a crappy labor market.
I'm just curious how much of that is
Find
cash.
a trade partner or a contractor or a sub that's going to be able to do work in a timely fashion now. It's difficult, even for the GCs that are in the business.
You're at your 50-50. 50% of them were cash and 50% of them were loans.
So the cash ones are no doubt investors.
No, I would not agree with that. I would totally disagree with that.
You'd say well, you're right. Now that I think about it, I'm with you on that
I
one.
would disagree with that.
I'm with you on that one, now that I think about it.
I'm going to pick one. And
That could be someone looking, no, I'm with you on that one. Neil Williamson is sharing a link. Neil and Sean Tubbs, I believe Sean's watching the program, are doing a live debate with city council candidates and
That's soon, isn't it?
incumbents. Yeah, it's very soon. He's shared the link on the I Love CVille group. I am very much looking forward to this.
We're going to do our own version of that
Fantastic.
on the 16th.
We'll do our own version of the 16th. As you have an opportunity to get to know the candidates, please, dear God, please
Send
vote.
them to your friends.
Please vote. Watch Sean, May 10th, 7 p.m. That is in approximately, oh, good Lord, Neil, that's Wednesday. That's Wednesday. This Wednesday at 7 p.m. from the Hillsdale Conference Center, you got Shawnee Tubbs, the Town Crier Productions president, affable, approachable, all around awesome Sean Tubbs. You got Neil Williamson, the president of the Free Enterprise Forum. They're co-hosting this debate with city council candidates. Had a nice little conversation with the mayor this morning outside the studio. This is what I find intriguing. We'll know when is the Democratic primary for Charlottesville June 10th or June 20th?
I think the 20th, and I'll start talking when you're doing this because I've been talking to all the city council candidates because we're going to do our own version of a town hall here on the 16th.
I think it's go ahead.
And of June, so I think it's a 20-something. It's something. Neil will chime in on it for sure.
June 20th, Tuesday, June
There you
20th
go.
is the Democratic primary. By Tuesday night, we're going to know
Who's the city council?
who's on city council.
That's exactly right.
So we will know who's on city council in 42 days.
And what's the bummer about that?
What? That there's no Republicans or independents running?
Contested elections matter.
The Democratic primary, at least, is contested.
It is contested, but the Democratic primary is the election.
The Democratic
In
primary
the city
is the election.
But it's interesting. Also, Greene County. Neil and I were texting back and forth. There are out of 5 board of supervisors, there are 3 up. and actually 3 that are not going to run. So these are going to be 3 brand new seats of somebody that has not been an incumbent in Greene County. So we've got some really interesting election cycles going through. We've got one in Fluvanna County.
Early voting going on now. Neil, you're exactly right. Early voting going on now. You can vote in person in the primary on the 20th.
So even Fluvanna County has something new because Booker's not running. And so there's going to be a new seat on the Fluvanna County board.
You don't want an interesting.
I'm looking, by the way, most of the mid 400s in the city of Charlottesville. I've just picked one right here. 221 Spruce Street was cash, fully renovated, 475.
All right, I'll give you that. That's a homeowner there. That's what you think.
I absolutely it is. Yeah.
I'll give you this. If Michael Payne, I'll throw this to you as a hypothetical.
Cute little house.
Hypothetical, just a hypothetical scenario. We're not picking favorites here. Neither you nor I can vote. I live in Albemarle County, you live in Fluvanna County. Neither you nor I can vote in the council election, council primary. Hypothetical, Michael Payne is not elected in the primary. Do you understand the impact that will have on housing in Charlottesville? Michael Payne is a housing, how would you describe him?
Yeah,
advocate?
So I want to.
How do you characterize it? Isn't
that
that his number one platform?
Absolutely. I want to be.
You're not picking favorites.
No, I want to be careful and respectful for what Neil and Sean are going to do on Wednesday, right?
Okay.
Right. So I don't want to be too prognosticator or whatever
What are you saying over there?
I have no idea what I'm saying. When has that ever mattered? The reality of it is, it's really up to one seat, right? The likelihood, I'm pretty sure Payne.
You're saying that Payne and Snook are slam dunks.
I didn't say that. I said pretty sure.
It's up to one seat.
It's pretty sure. That's not a slam dunk. You know, there's no slam dunks in politics. But I would be betting, not my mustache. I would be betting that Snook and Payne.
They're heavy favorites.
I would do that. So it comes down to who's that extra seat,
heavy
and that's
favorites.
where the math gets a little wonky, because we don't do wards, we don't do districts, right? So if one of them just wins by one vote, right, the math could be super tight, and whoever has the most of the 3 wins. I don't know about. I don't know if it's mathematically possible to have 2 with the same count. I don't know if that's mathematically possible in the city of Charlotte.
I don't have that answer either. That's a great question.
I don't know if that is mathematically
Could it coincidentally happen?
I don't know. But Neil would know this more than I do. But I don't know if that's actually possible.
I will say this. Bob Fenwick, I have heard through the political grapevine, is gathering tremendous momentum from a voter base that's opposed to increased assessments and opposed to upzoning in the city.
So I can tell you.
That's Fenwick's base.
So I can tell you this. I've sent out a formal invitation to all of them. 3 of them responded very quickly.
Who did not?
And 2 did not.
Did Bob not respond?
3 responded very quickly.
So you're saying Bob did not?
Bob did, actually.
Oh, he did?
So the 3 responded very quickly, 2 have not.
Okay.
So that might kind of.
Snook, Payne, and Bob.
The other 2 have not responded to me as of yet.
Okay. Well, time will tell. I mean, what do you make of Fenwick getting on council? Potentially.
Well, Bob's been there before.
Yeah.
So there's history. You can go back and read his, or look at what he said and what he's done. I will tell you, I'm pretty sure if he gets on, he'll probably take things from a different approach than the current members. I think that's a fair statement.
Definitely.
Will he have enough to sway votes? Probably not. I would think. Probably not. I think there's enough votes on there. But this whole, this conversation was having about my mustache and the rezoning I've had with a couple of city councilors. I think you're going to see this thing wrapped up before the November election. But you're 100% right. June, it'll definitely not happen before June. My mustache is June 20th. My mustache is safe for the moment,
This,
anyway.
this is from Rio Road. Jason, is the ceiling for prices here in Charlottesville or Albemarle somewhat below what Northern Virginia housing costs? A reoccurring theme is retirees buying down here after selling in the DC market and having a pile of cash. It's more affordable here than Northern Virginia.
Absolutely. I would
It's not even comparable.
I would not limit it to Northern Virginia. It's other places, the Northeast Corridor.
Yeah.
People are, and if you, it was, I read a very interesting article when I was up in DC, that the flight out of people are pretty substantial.
It's substantial.
Yeah.
And they're remembering their 4 years at Charlottesville, at UVA.
Yeah.
And they're coming here.
Yeah. So,
Get in-state residency, have your kids go to the University of Virginia, come down from Northern Virginia or Manhattan, where housing is 25, 30% less. You can buy a larger home. You got more place. You got school. I mean, it's not going to stop.
Yeah, so unfortunately, we can't do this in our Paragon system, so it has to go through.
What, the zip codes of where people were coming from?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, we can't do this, but one of the things that I was advocating with the Albemarle County Board of Supervisors was to try to create a similar defense ROI
For real estate?
for real estate.
That's a great idea.
And I think Weldon Cooper would be able to pull that data,
No doubt.
that data up where people are coming from,
And
all
Carr
this.
could fund it.
Somebody could fund it. Don't
You're not on the board there.
do not get me into trouble.
I'm not getting you in trouble. I would love to know the impact.
Yeah, well, so it would be the impact, but I can tell you, if you start looking at what people are buying coming in, they're coming out of the Northeast market, they're selling their house for $1 million, they're buying this thing for $599, whatever it is, they pocket the cash difference. The real issue, I think, and it was funny, my daughter and I were having this conversation yesterday, or a couple days ago up in D.C., it's generational. That's going to be the real conflict.
Put that in perspective. This is a good topic here.
I think it's not interest rates. This is going to be generational. This is going to be the boomer selling their home with a bunch of cash and doing something and pushing out the millennial. That's the reason why I would love to know what the age category of this, and somewhere, and Neil's smarter than me for sure. I'm sure this.
I mean, you could track that through U.S. Census data.
Yeah.
Is the average
There's ways
age?
of doing
Who wants to have this bet? Who wants to bet that the average age in the city of Charlottesville has increased since COVID?
Yeah, I don't know
the answer to that.
Yeah,
I would imagine the average age has gotten older in the city of Charlottesville
but
for
Weldon
residents.
Cooper could do that.
Weldon Cooper. Well, no, U.S. Census. I'm pretty sure that's part of Census data.
It is part of census data, but you need the people that are really good at this stuff to pull all that data and put it together. We do this in a very small way for the show, and that's a lot of work. I mean, I worked 2 hours this morning just on trying to pick up. I was taking a look at cash versus whatever, and loan, and I was also taking a look at the April sales over the end of the quarter, and that took me 2 hours. Yes, I am slow, so it takes me a little bit longer than normal. I'm a little bit slower than normal today, but yeah. But everybody's kind of gone up. Flavanna went a little bit down, so it requires somebody to put that thing together and create it.
This has come in from Christopher. He goes, so Jerry, you're saying you believe the resident base to be older here in the Charlottesville metro area. That would mean more disposable income and potentially a stronger economy. No? Asking a question. That's what he says.
Yeah, because you have more disposable income.
I'd say that's fair.
Right.
I'd say
I think you got two buyer profiles. I've been saying this forever. You have two buyer profiles right now. You've got Keith and Yona, and you've got the millennial that's making the multiple six-figure salary. That's the closer to the inner ring. That's what this is going to be, unless there is substantial subsidy from the city, which the city, by the way, and hats off to them, are putting a tremendous amount of money into housing affordability. But unless there's substantial subsidy, unless there is enough developer incentives to go ahead and create this missing middle, so when you talk about missing middle, that's kind of what we're talking about here. It's physical, right? It's also income-based or economic base.
I don't see the missing middle housing stock becoming a reality anytime soon. There's no political capital, there's no affordable dirt, the cost of goods and the labor market make it too difficult to build a house at that price point and have any profit left.
So let's, again, stealing Robert Liberty's silver buckshot. Let's just say all of a sudden, let me get this out.
Sure.
All of a sudden, they come up with the right plan, way to fund it, the perfect developer, affordable housing or developer incentives. Let's assume by the end of this year they come up with this. Here is this thing, they take their magic wands, they wave their magic wands, and we've got this perfect plan. It's going to take years before it even comes out of the ground.
That's what I'm saying.
Years. And we're not going to end up with the perfect plan. Right? It's just not going to happen because there's politics are going to get in the way. There's going to be certain concessions been given. It'll be a plan. It won't be the perfect plan. And even once that's done, then it has to have a ready, willing, and able. Shout out to Neil, seller. Somebody's got to be willing to sell the land. Then you got to have the builders and the developers to be able to go ahead and do it. Then it has to be well funded. And subsidized by the government or somebody. It has to be heavily subsidized. Just to put it in perspective, the 23 units that the Land Trust built, and we hit 65% AMI, $225,000, between $215,000 and $225,000 sales price, had roughly $60,000 worth of subsidy in it per unit. Between what the county gave us and money we raised, there was roughly $60,000 to go ahead and do that, to make that number work. So you got to get the right plan, you got to get all the partners on board to do it, and you need the cash to go ahead and do it.
Neil says if you give up on missing middle housing, you end up with Santa Barbara, California, a city for newlyweds and nearly deads.
So
Santa Barbara, California.
I hope Neil isn't thinking I'm giving up on it. I'm very.
No, I think he directed that at me.
Yeah.
I'm not giving up on missing middle. I just don't think we have the political capital for missing middle housing. I also don't think we have the economic climate for missing middle housing because the dirt is too expensive, the labor market is too expensive, the cost of goods market is too expensive, and the interest rate climate to finance projects is too expensive. The contractors, developers, and builders I know, the clearest path to profitability is a single-family detached home that's $1 million plus.
Sure.
You deal with one family, you build a house, you get your 8 to 14% margin, and you go build the next one. And you do it by right.
Path of least resistance.
That's what I'm saying.
That's why the path has to be.
That's what's happened.
Yeah. So look, I don't give up that easily. Otherwise, I would have not done 66 miles yesterday, right? So I'm not going to. We are going to try to do the best we can to come up with something. Is it going to be the perfect plan? Probably not. But I'm going to stay in the game and try to do it because I think missing middle works. It's the rest of the pieces of the puzzle that is needed, right? So Arlington's done its missing middle very differently than Charlottesville is. I don't know if you know that or not. So Arlington's missing middle is purely market driven. There is no requirements. There is no affordability requirement. It's let the market drive it however it needs to be driven.
And the result is?
Don't know. It just got approved. Literally, it got approved the date 1 or 2 days before the Regional Housing Summit when I was doing the.
I would imagine the result of that's going to be McMansions.
We'll find out.
Yeah.
But the path that they took was let the market do it. The path that Charlottesville is taking is to do all these incentives.
The path what Charlottesville's taking is hire third-party consultants, spend taxpayer dollars.
I thought that was a genius.
Make this process extremely time-consuming, splinter and divide the community on a topic that is very volatile and causes arguments. Have the process take as long as humanly possible. Maybe not even have it approved by the next council cycle. do a project, manipulate the market, interfere with the invisible hand of capitalism, and as a result, the dirt's becoming more expensive.
Okay. So the Mets are doing pretty good. right
I'm
now.
not trying to be, and I'm never,
So
I'm never a doom and gloom guy. But when government interferes with business, it craps the situation up. I've seen it so many times.
Yes and maybe no yes, right? So there has to be, and I'm a private sector guy, right? But there has to be some rules that has to be set out there, right? There has to be something, because if you didn't have any rules, it would, things would go a little bit nuts. As far as the Arlington missing middle, that's been going on for years. And basically what they did is they give anybody an option to go up to 6 units, right? And it's market driven, and there is, according to the folks that were at the summit on the panel that I was moderating for missing middle on the end of it. But so are you saying there shouldn't be no zoning? People should just do what they want to do?
Yeah. That's what I think it should be.
So your opinion is that there should be no land use requirements in any
You
jurisdiction?
got a 10.2 square mile city. I'm just talking Charlottesville specifically. Charlottesville,
so you're saying,
you know where Charlottesville screwed this up? Charlottesville screwed this up. Okay, we could spend an entire show on this. 53% of the city of Charlottesville zones single family R1. Call it 53%. That means 53% of the city is a house, a standalone single family house.
Got it.
Okay? And the reason this happened, back in the day, the city of Charlottesville struggled with white flight. And a lot of its white wealthy families, generations ago, were leaving for Albemarle County in the suburbs. Cities all over America were dealing with this. So the city of Charlottesville, generations ago, to combat this trend of white flight, where their tax base was leaving for a different jurisdiction, the city said, let's figure out a way to keep our tax base intact. And that's when the city made half of its land single-family detached, because it wanted to give this vibe of suburb, of community, backyard, front yard, neighborhood, good for kids, white picket fence, and all the connotations that go with it. When they made over half the land single-family detached, R1 zoning, it really made the land difficult for people to live because it limited the housing stock that was available. You know this, viewers and listeners, some know this, some may not. Where the city screwed up was get involved in the zoning play in the first place.
1962 is when they adopted. I'm reading it right now. I want
Yeah.
to make sure I got the date right.
Anytime you get people that are going to go and muck things up from a government standpoint, you're going to have collateral damage. And the collateral damage is cost, expensive, prohibitive, barrier of entry.
Yeah. So your solution is just to remove all zoning altogether.
My solution is to allow the market to do what it wants within reason.
Okay, so that's
Within reason.
So
residential area.
So where is the reason? Who determines reason? Look, I know this world
You know it well.
very well.
Yeah, I know you do.
If you were to sit down with we would get developers in here, which we could do. Actually, it's probably a really good roundtable discussion. What do you think Keith or Anthony, in this case, Woodward would say, or Stanley Martin would say, or any other? There's the two that just popped off the top of my head. What do you think the number one thing that a developer says they want? I want to develop in Charlottesville. Sunshine and PHA, St. Jean Maiton, PHA, same conversation, just on the nonprofit side. What do you think that they want?
I think a developer would want a clear understanding of the playing field before them.
There you go.
They
And
want
the rules
what
not
any,
to-
they want what any businessman wants. You know what I want?
Yeah.
I want to understand
Yeah.
the playing field, because then I can make decisions based on what's before me.
And you do not want that playing
To
field
change.
to change.
Because if the playing field changes, my business plan on the decisions I made
Got it.
is not usable.
So we're not,
This is what Keith Woodard. He
So-
walked away from $2 million on Water Street.
because they jerked them
They
around.
changed the playing
They
field.
changed the rules.
They changed the rules.
They changed the rules.
Yeah.
They changed the rules.
Yeah.
So what we're saying is zoning is the rules.
Zoning's the rules.
Okay, so we're not saying throw zoning away, because that's really not what we're talking
I'm
about.
saying-
What we're talking about is creating a playbook, a set of rules that applies to everybody, regardless of nonprofit, for-profit, or whatever. And the last module, which have not been released yet, and I've been saying this all along, is the most important module. That is how the city is going to enforce Module 1 and Module 2. So these are the 3 modules that they're putting out here. And guess what got delayed?
Module 3.
Module 3. It was supposed to come out. So what any developer wants is, let me open up the rule book. I can sell for people around the state, around the country actually for this, is open up the book, give me the rules. They need to be clear, concise, and understandable so that a staff sergeant in the United States Marine Corps can understand it, right? Then I want them applied fairly and equally across the board. That's what I want. And then I want my elected officials to follow the playbook which they created. And then I want staff to go ahead and interpret that the way it's written and allow me to move forward in a timely fashion. That's huge asks.
Yeah.
The reason why we won't get all of this, because I don't think we're going to hit all of those buttons to get in here, and you will not get 50,000, 5,000. I don't even think you'll get a couple of extra thousand units. You might get a couple of multifamilies.
50,000, 5,000. You're not going to get any of those.
You'll get some. You'll get
Okay.
some. You'll get some. The thing is, at what price
A
point?
few hundred?
At what price point, right?
Yeah.
So Keith and Jerry just bought this house for $400,000. It's on a alleyway. I might put a second unit back in there, rent unit 1, rent unit B. They're up in not in affordable ranges, and there's your business model. And you just keep on moving from unit to unit to unit. So it'll be very small increase unless the developer, particularly housing affordability incentives are such that Keith and Jerry can go, let's go ahead and put 6 units on here, and I'm good with 3 of them or 2 of them or 50% of them or whatever, that would be 3, on them to be affordable, to meet that criteria. But what's the incentives? Do I get connection fees for free? Do I have a tax incentive part for a while? These are very simple bullet point items that really hasn't floated up to the top yet.
There you go.
What time is it?
11:30.
Ooh.
I know. Flies. I just literally look for the same time here. I love talking about this stuff with you, dude.
Sure. Well, I just want to clear up. You're not in favor of throwing the rule book out
No,
and anybody doing anything.
How you
You're-
said it was better. They need to have consistency with the rules.
I've been doing this for 30.
And the rules need to be not tight enough where it like limits them doing something.
So the rules have to be clear, concise, and easily interpreted,
Yeah.
right? And then this way, elected officials don't interpret it a different way, and staff, more importantly, have a conversation with some elected officials. Ned will be very open about this
No
when
doubt.
we bring him on here.
Yeah.
One of his primary frustration is, and by the way, I'm having it with other elected officials about this developer incentive thing on it, is staff gets in the way sometimes. Why, I couldn't tell you, but they get in the way, and it frustrates the elected official because they think they can come in here and actually do something and make some decisions, and all of a sudden they get pushback on it. But if the rules are clear, concise, staff sergeant in the United States Marine Corps, simple to understand, and enforced equally across the board, you will get what everybody wants.
Keith Smith, high note.
If they don't, you won't.
Well said. They need to listen to you.
Yeah, well, the coffee kicked in.
That was nice.
The ibuprofen also kicked in too.
66 miles yesterday, educating the community today. Real talk.
So if you don't think
Keith
my
Smith.
calves have been cramping the whole time.
I bet they have. 66 miles is legit, man.
Yeah, very happy with it.
I enjoy the Batman and Robin.
Well, it's the rest of the week.
I like it.
So-
I like it, my friend.
Rest of the week, we're gonna do Batman and Robin, do some numbers, little back and forth We didn't get Judah in this mixture, but did you notice the microphone was ready?
Well, we got it. We upgraded. He's got a permanent.
Oh, look at that. I just
Every
noticed
month,
that.
every month we add to the studio. We add to the infrastructure, the technology. We spend more money every month on the network. Judas,
I just noticed that.
We went
That's
to
excellent.
we went from 4 to 5 mics.
I like it.
4 to 5 mics. Judah, can you wave to your adoring fans? He told me when he walked in this morning, he signed autographs on Saturday.
What are they really called checks?
I must be taking some drugs 'cause I don't remember that.
Judah's the director of this fine and fair.
There you go. There's ending it on the high note.
Keith Smith is the
Judah's taking
executive producer and the namesake of Real Talk with Keith Smith. My name is Jerry Miller, the I Love CVille show in 59 minutes. Thank you kindly for joining us. Take care.
Thanks, guys.
Keith, that was fun.
Yeah, I had fun. I like when we go push back to push
Very
back.
nicely done. Very nicely